Recently I finally caught the Asian flu, as some people call it, and it sure knocked me on my butt for a while. I had a much milder case than most people who got it a while back, but it still beat me up like it was Muhammad Ali and I was Jerry Lewis, if you're old enough to remember either of those guys. One of the weirdest parts of it for me personally was the way it made me panic. And sometimes I'd have these sort of panic attacks that were worse than the Rona itself. That's why when choosing which story to get back to work with, I was especially drawn to this one here, where the guy who sent the story in experienced a kind of fear so intense that he wondered then, and wonders now, if it might have been a series of panic attacks. Did the Dogman this witness dealt with deliberately cause the panic attacks? Or was that a side issue only happening inside the witness's nervous system? How much of the fear associated with Dogman encounters is a direct physical effect from the Dogman? And how much of the fear is a result of how the human in question copes with the situation that they found themselves thrust into? Well, we're not going to be able to answer those questions in this story, but we certainly are going to examine them a bit. I suppose you might say that this is a cautionary tale, so we may as well entitle it, Never Jog Alone in Dogman Territory. Dear Scary Stories NYC, I am originally from the left coast, and I had expected to live my life there. I used to say that I'd still be in Southern California even after it fell off into the ocean, when the big one finally hits. I married my childhood sweetheart. I had an important position in her father's company, and we were more or less set for life. Then my wife met another guy. Her family turned on me and flushed me out of their company, and I somehow found myself working a middle management job in Michigan, starting over at the age of 42. It all happened over the course of 2.5 years, but to me it felt like it happened overnight. All my friends sided with my ex-wife, and so by the time I got my new job outside of Detroit, the only thing I had in my life was that new job. I had no friends. I had no hobbies. I had no goals or aims. And I felt sort of in a state of shock 24/7. You may not believe it, but this story is actually going to be about the Dogman. Just hang in there. He's waiting off stage to make his big entrance. So I got fat at my new job. Most of the other people there were chubby, and we all ate junk during our breaks together, encouraging each other to accept our middle-aged paunch that we were all developing. Then one day a woman got transferred to our division that I somehow hit it off with. Let's call her Adelaide. She and I are married now and we're very happy, but this story happened back when we first noticed our interest in each other. We remained just co-workers for a long time before we started dating, over a year before we were sure enough that we wanted to go out with each other. During that year I lost a lot of weight, with Adelaide in my life encouraging me and helping me to remember what self-confidence felt like. I slowly became less of a mess mentally and got back in better physical shape as well. I had initially begun jogging in place in my basement to lose weight, but after a while I got up the nerve to go running outside in the mornings before work. If you are considering taking up a similar regimen, you might want to listen to my experiences before you decide where you'd like to do your own running. Obviously, you want to avoid a high crime area, but it might be less obvious that you also want to take efforts not to run through the pre-dawn hours in a territory known for harboring potentially dangerous predatory animals. I know it's the 21st century, and I know we tend to think of carnivorous animals attacking humans as something that only happens in old Tarzan movies or whatever. But I'm here to tell you that there are still animals that can be dangerous to humans. I do not think that dogmen, bears, wolves, or coyote packs, or even cougars or mountain lions, are usually dangerous to humans these days. Mostly they're able to hunt and scavenge easier to catch kinds of prey than humans, and so they will usually avoid interacting with us at all. We're just too much trouble for them. If you go running by a large predator, though, you may cause their instincts to kick in, and their instincts are to chase down and kill anything they see running past them, such as a jogger. The location I chose to jog on that weekend morning was Proud Lake. They've got places you can camp over there which are beautiful, and that was how I first learned about their nature paths. You can run right along the lake, and it's beautiful any time of day or night. The trouble is, if you go too early or stay too late, you might find yourself meeting face to face with one of the more legendary residents of the state. Now, I can't remember an actual date for this event, but I remember it was fairly early on in my jogging career. At that point, I had a lot of blubber with almost no muscle at all to move it around with. I must have looked like a nice gristly chunk of steak leaking greasy fat on the path behind me to that dogman. I suppose I should have given the creature a better introduction than that, but honestly, I heard him a long time before I saw him or had any idea that he was a dogman. And I think he was already there before I heard him, too. When I run, I find it so unpleasant to do that I kinda zone out a bit. I've got some reason to do it and I force myself to, but I'm not enjoying any part of it. Then, if I keep going, I come to this other sort of plane of awareness where I understand a bit more, but care a whole lot less. Things that I'm upset about normally seem trivial when I get into that state. I can know more about what's going on around me, but at the cost of no longer caring about the answers to my questions. And it was only because I had fallen into that zone that I consciously noticed the sounds I'd been hearing in the woods alongside where I was running. I felt that I knew there was a man inside those woods, and he was running along with me, watching me, the entire time. That realization was enough to jolt me out of my serene mental state. My heart started beating harder than it needed to. I felt warm all over, and my extremities got tingly. I stopped to lean against a tree, and I found myself feeling confused. What was I doing? Why was I leaning? Who was I? Why was I out of breath? What kind of reality was I inside of? I guess I was blacking out, forgetting what and who I was, and feeling like I couldn't stand up under my own power anymore. These are panic attack symptoms, but at the time, I felt certain that this bad energy was coming from the woods somehow. I didn't even know it was a dogman yet, but I felt it was evil, and it was making me feel sick. Looking back on it, I think that I just somehow sensed that I was in great danger, and that I was panicking. My body knew better than my brain did how much we were in trouble, so the body started shutting the systems down to communicate the emergency. I just think that I was then, and am still, very out of tune with my body and with reality, and that I don't listen to what I'm being told until it becomes an emergency. And then I have a panic attack. I have a friend from Wisconsin who disagrees with me entirely on this subject. They once saw the Wisconsin werewolf not far from Bray Road, to be honest. Well, not that close either. They had similar panic attacks when this happened to them. Except in their opinion, these bad feelings were inflicted upon him by the dogman. I've had panic attacks on other occasions in my life, though, while my friend only had his during his dogman experience. That might account for our differences of opinion as to the origins of our bad feelings. So there I was, having some kind of a panic attack, whether inflicted on me by the Dogman or by my own subconscious, and I could hear whatever was in those woods coming out of them toward me. I managed to turn and look in the direction of the thumping heavy footsteps, and what I saw brought me to my knees there along the jogging path. I was looking up at a remarkably tall creature covered in dark fur. I thought it was a black bear at first, but it was so large that it would have had to have been a polar bear dyed black. The face also did not say bear to me. It seemed like some sort of dinosaur version of a dog, to be honest. It was up on its hind legs, but it walked with a swagger, like an ape or a man, not like a bear. It had eyes that glowed like someone had lit a fire inside its skull, and those glowing eyes were staring at me. I've seen this thing so many times since that morning in my dreams and nightmares that I feel I can visualize him whenever I want to. If I could draw anything, I could draw him. I can't draw anything though, so I can't draw him. If you can draw, or if you can just imagine, then you can be my police artist, and I'll give you as detailed a description as I can manage. Now remember, this is something I still dream about every month or so. I've never really gotten over this event. I'm still pretty shaken up by it, even though I've never returned to that lake since then, and I have no logical reason to still find it this hard to get over that morning. It's not like I got injured. It's not like I lost a loved one. I can't comprehend my deep level of fear about that event, which feels so real even to this day. Whenever I have a few good days in a row, the dream about the Dogman returns, and the world becomes a dark and frightening place for me all over again. Have you ever seen a drawing or a statue of a satyr? It's like a man and a goat at the same time. It has goat legs for one thing. Well, this Dogman reminded me of a satyr. His legs at first even looked to me like goat legs. I believe they were wolf or dog legs actually, although I don't recall if I ever saw the feet clearly in the tall grass that it was standing and walking inside of. Whether its legs were goat-like or canine, in either case, they were not humanoid. Its chest, on the other hand, was a different matter entirely. This looked like the chest of a very hairy and giant monster man. Like a monkey man, really. It wasn't canine looking at all in terms of its torso. Its chest was wide, and so were the broad shoulders. Its face was like that of a dog, and yet it looked so entirely different than any other dog face while resting on top of those massive humanoid shoulders. I've been told that scientists actually accept that a creature matching the description of Bigfoot is actually there in the fossil record. Well, you know, it really did live thousands and thousands of years ago. Nobody's ever made such a claim for werewolves or dogmen, though. While the Bigfoot seems as though it at least once belonged on this planet, the dogman or werewolf, to me, seems more like something that shouldn't exist. It just shouldn't be there. It shouldn't be possible. It shouldn't be something that I could have seen. I don't want it to be real. I don't want to have memories of seeing it. And I definitely do not want to keep having these nightmares about what I saw. And yet, this is my life. I really did turn around that morning and watch as an immense, man-like canine came out of the woods. And my mind really did twist itself into a knot that I have yet to figure out how to untie. I felt incredibly confused as I wondered where I was that such a thing could be happening. It looked like a demon from some kind of anime or manga, more than it looked like something that should exist along a jogging path in suburban Michigan? My disorientation had become pretty extreme by that point. I was lost. I looked up at the immense and amazing teeth of the creature, and I more or less resigned myself to the fact that I was about to become that thing's breakfast. And then I heard a little dog going yap 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 to the side of me. It was one of those little Scotty dogs, whatever they call them, and it was on the end of a leash. A leather leash. A black leather leash. Then I heard the lady holding the dog's leash, and she was yelling something at the Dogman too. Then suddenly there was a man there, and I remember he took a flash picture of the Dogman with his telephone, which caused the upright beast to turn around and head back into the woods. The lady with the little dog helped me back to my feet and asked me if I was all right. I really wasn't, but I was embarrassed that I had been saved by her little dog and her. I mean, the two of them had more bravery than I did. I had a panic attack, and this woman who was maybe 5'2" was my savior. It was not my proudest moment, and I realized how beaten down I'd allowed myself to become. I had lost my self-respect, really. That little yappy dog was more of an adult than I was. By the way, I was not able to talk to the guy who took the flash photo on his phone. He seemed to just snap the shot, then run on. I haven't heard of the photo being published anywhere in the years since then. Maybe it didn't come out well. Still, even if it was just a blur, I'd love to see what that picture turned out looking like. So I would like to tell you that my encounter with the Dogman taught me to be more in touch with my body and my subconscious mind. I would be thrilled to inform you that my fear of the world disappeared and that I mastered my panic attacks. However, none of that is true. The incident inspired me to buy myself a treadmill, and since then I do most of my running indoors, alone, where the Dogman can't see or smell me. If I learned anything at all from this experience, what I learned was this. Never jog alone in Dogman territory.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Did you know that all of us here on the internet can see when you watch us? Well, it's true. And that's why you should dress appropriately for what you're looking at. For instance, right now, you could be wearing this badass Dr. Death t-shirt, starring me, Dr. Death himself. And that ice-cold beverage you're enjoying could be mingling with ice cubes inside of this Dr. Death glass. We also have Bigfoot and Dogman t-shirts for those of you who prefer those guys for whatever reason. But if you do buy Henry merch or Bigfoot or whatever, please also consider supporting the old doctor, huh? My social security check stopped coming a couple of years after I died, you know.
We'd like to welcome back on board 0718 Dragonlord. Please welcome back 0718 Dragonlord, who has rejoined our channel memberships and helped to make this episode possible. You should see the emails YouTube is sending me, urging me to make the entire channel about your donations. If I don't do what they say, they'll be unhappy with me, so I've got to try to work their new philosophy into my shows. I mean, they refer to you guys donating to keep us alive as, quote, purchases, unquote. I guess you're purchasing the right to see us survive. It seems to me that words keep getting redefined all over the place these days, and I'm sure hoping we can somehow manage to keep up and stay alive. Here to guide you through some ways you can help us survive a bit longer is our international TV spokesmongrel, Henry Lee Dogman. Hank? Thanks, Biggie. And thanks to all of you for watching this far. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like to see more of our work, please subscribe. And also click that bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we put out a new episode. To become an executive producer, you can donate to us through the thanks button under each of our videos or through our paypal.me/PeterBernard209 page. To receive cool perks like secret uncensored Dogman episodes far too wild to ever run on this channel, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button, or join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. Joining either at the $3 a month level or above gets you access to our over 25 hours of secret uncensored Dogman stories available nowhere else. Do you have a scary story about Dogman or some other kind of high strangeness that happened to you? Let us know by emailing us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or by leaving us a voicemail message at 804-LA-SCARY. You may need to call back on that when it cuts off after I think 3 minutes. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff, thank you for simply watching to the end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.